Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now, despite a drop in terrorist attacks overall in the year 2015, extremist groups have become even better at decentralizing and diffusing. In its annual report on global terrorism, the U.S. State Department says Islamic State remains the greatest threat, managing to spread its tentacles into regions beyond the Middle East. VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dockins has the story.
Islamic State's capacity to control territory in Iraq and Syria eroded during the latter half of last year, but the group managed to wage terror campaigns elsewhere in Europe, Africa, and South Asia. Although a U.S.-led coalition had success in keeping groups like Islamic State off balance in some regions, extremist groups managed to recruit new members elsewhere, according to the State Department in its annual report.
Our response really needs to be expanded into a better understanding of the drivers of radicalization, what it is that is compelling young people to be attracted by and then to join up with these terrorist organizations.
The State Department said Boko Haram killed thousands of people last year and displaced hundreds of thousands in the Lake Chad Basin region. Al-Shabaab waged deadly attacks in Somalia in a bid to reverse progress made by the government. And while al-Qaeda's central leadership weakened, it inspired a network of affiliate groups in the Middle East, Africa, and the Indian subcontinent.
What we therefore hope from the report is to get a better understanding of what's going on at the localized level so that we can tailor our own approach in our own efforts in partnership with many of those countries.
It's an approach that will need to go well beyond the military option to be successful, say analysts.
You cannot defeat a terrorist threat simply by killing the terrorists. Unless you deal with the underlying political, economic, and social grievances that give rise to the terrorist phenomenon, and in the case of the Middle East, unless you shut down the civil wars that are generating these new crops of terrorist groups, you are never going to get rid of the scourge of terrorism.
And while the U.S. report names nearly 60 designated foreign terrorist groups, one stands out, says analyst Alex Ward, who spoke via Skype.
ISIS is it for the United States, and ISIS is the strategic threat. Some people could disagree with that, but essentially, when it comes to terrorism for the United States, it's ISIS.
When it comes to efforts to fight groups like ISIS, the State Department says the U.S. continues to work with partners to increase border security and eliminate security vulnerabilities. Pam Dockins, VOA News, the State Department.